Hi guys, and welcome to a new review video. I realized that I haven't been making very many review videos lately. I don't really know why, but I am now testing a bunch of new products, so stay tuned for more reviews, both foundation and mascaras, coming to my channel in the near future after I have tested the products that I want to review. If you are new to my channel, then please make sure to subscribe. If you enjoy review videos and other videos, you can obviously check them out. I've made quite a few of them by now. Today I'm going to be testing the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation. This foundation is a newer version of the HD foundation. I have never owned or tried the HD foundation, the original one, so I can't possibly compare the two, but from some of the reviews that I have read, it seems that a lot of people don't really like the Ultra HD and they would really want to use the old Makeup Forever HD foundation. Now, the HD foundation or Ultra HD foundation is meant to be this high-tech in terms of makeup foundations that you can wear on camera, and because nowadays with the new technology coming out literally every day, cameras tend to be quite harsh on your skin because they tend to show all of the imperfections, and that's also true for professional cameras such as TV cameras. So this foundation claims that it will not be visible even if you are using a 4K camera. Now, I don't have a 4K camera, so the camera that I have will have to make do, but it also claims that the makeup will be invisible to the naked eye, so that is something that I can definitely test. This foundation comes in a standard 30ml bottle with a pump. It is medium coverage, although I've read some reviews saying that it's quite light coverage. I guess it really depends what your expectations are. It retails for approximately £30 or $43 on Sephora's website. 40 shades is definitely a really good range of colors, and I have also read some reviews praising Makeup Forever for introducing some of the very light shades. So if someone has a really fair skin, they might struggle with finding a really light foundation. And I hear that time and time again. I know people who are struggling with that as well, but it seems that this Ultra HD foundation, they actually cater for the lightest skin tones as well as the darker ones. After looking at a number of reviews, I would say that this foundation tends to get about 4 out of 5 stars, maybe a little bit more. I don't think that the complaints that I've read were very consistent. So it appears that some people complained that they were getting breakouts after wearing this foundation. Some people complained that their skin would become really oily or that it would become really dry, which are opposites. But I guess maybe it just exaggerates the problem that you already have. I will obviously be able to tell because my skin is actually oily on my nose and in the T-zone, and it's actually quite dry on my cheeks. I think that the most consistent complaint about this foundation is not enough coverage, but again, that really depends on your expectations and on your experience with medium coverage foundations. Another one was about staying power. So apparently it doesn't really stay on the face for very long. I will obviously test that as well because I will probably be wearing this foundation for about 10 hours. Okay, let's get started. The shade that I will be using today is Y225. As always, I will be using a brush on one side of my face and the Real Techniques beauty sponge on the other side to compare whether one or the other works better with this foundation. It's actually quite liquidy. I mean, it's medium covered. Some people call it light covered, so I guess that's to be expected, but it feels really nice on the face. I can straight away see quite a lot of coverage actually. As you can see, I have already prepped my skin, so I have used my serums and moisturizers. I do not use any primers when I'm testing foundation, so there's no primer on my skin. Now switch to the other side and use the beauty blender. I don't put a lot of foundation on my face. I know I got comments about this in the past, but that's just the way I do my makeup. I don't necessarily need to feel like I have a mask on my face, so I do hope that a little will go a long way with this foundation. Let's hope for the best. Now, someone complained in the reviews that I've read that they literally achieve no coverage with the sponge or beauty blender. I actually normally feel like I get more coverage with the sponge rather than with the brush, just because you're obviously pressing the product into your skin, so it's not really like you're wiping it off your face, although the sponge obviously absorbs some of the product anyway, but so does brush. Okay guys, so we are done. It took me literally no time to apply this foundation. It took me a little bit longer with the blender, but that's quite normal. And in fact, I was able to quite smoothly apply this foundation with a brush to my nose. So that's quite new to me. My nose is always this kind of area where I have to take special care, and normally I just use a sponge if I can. In terms of coverage, I wouldn't say that it's a lot of coverage, not at all. But as I said, I don't necessarily wear a lot of coverage on my face unless it's obviously full coverage foundation. This foundation is definitely, in my opinion, medium to light coverage looking at what I have on my face, but nevertheless it gave me a nice evened out tone. I completely agree that it looks like I'm not wearing anything at all. It literally looks like my skin, which is great. Obviously, as you can see, it didn't cover any of my acne or acne scars or even hyperpigmentation on my forehead, but that is not unusual. I mean, you would have to have a really full coverage foundation for those to be covered up properly, so I always use a concealer anyway. The shade also is a really good match for my skin, and I know that there's 40 shades to choose from, so I think that no one would really have any trouble with finding their shade. So far I really like this foundation, but yes, I would agree that this is definitely on the lighter side, so that's something to bear in mind. I will be testing it throughout the day. Today I'm not going to be wearing any extra makeup, and I'm not actually going to put a concealer on my face either. I'm staying at home, I'm doing some work, and I am giving my skin a little bit of rest as well, so I'm not gonna put anything else on my face, so you will see me this face later today. Well, you will see it in a couple of minutes time, but I will be filming that part later in the evening. I'll see you in a bit. We're back. So it has been over 10 hours since I applied this foundation. I can't quite decide if I like this foundation or not. It's just so strange because normally there is something to tell me this is working well because, or this is not working because. In this case, I don't know if it's working. I don't know if it's working at all. So I look, in my opinion, the same as I looked 10 hours ago. But 10 hours ago, I thought I looked like I didn't have any foundation on my face, which was good, but then I didn't seem to have very much coverage either, so that wasn't so good. So I really don't know. I really wanted to do just one day review of this foundation, but I don't think that's going to happen because I can't possibly tell you any pros or cons of this foundation. I do not know if it's any good. So what I will do, I will film another part of this video, which you will see in a moment, but to me that part will be days away at least. So I will be testing this foundation for at least a few days until I make up my mind, or at least I will come up with some points to mention about this foundation. I just watched another YouTuber's favorites videos and she mentioned that she loves this foundation. Anyway guys, so I will see you, well, you will see me in a couple of moments, but I will be filming another part of this video in at least a few days time, maybe longer, you never know. And I was actually hoping to be able to upload this video this week, but that's not going to happen. I'll see you in a bit, and we're back. So I have been using this foundation for I don't know how many days now, but I think approximately 2 weeks. And it's really hard because I can't quite make up my mind about it. On one hand, there are a number of things that I like about this foundation. On the other hand, there are a few key things that I don't quite like about it. So let's perhaps just start from the pros. So first, this is a very natural looking foundation. Obviously, according to Makeup Forever, it is meant to be invisible even if shot with a 4K camera. I don't have a 4K camera, so I couldn't quite test it, but I can tell you that looking at my skin after I've applied this foundation, I wasn't really sure if it was there. It literally looks like skin. It even has the same sort of crease, the same sort of texture, like the skin texture, so you can't really see it at all. Perhaps if you have a really dry skin, then most likely you'd be able to see it on a really dry skin, dry patches, but my skin is combination, and and I tried to keep it well hydrated, so I couldn't really see it on my skin at all. It is, in my opinion, light coverage. However, thanks to that, it stays really dewy on the skin. So the skin again looks super natural. If you don't use powder, which I don't always use, then your skin will look literally like skin when you apply this foundation. It is very easy to blend. I struggled with blending it because I couldn't find it on my face, because it seems that for once I have selected the correct shade, and due to the very natural finish of this foundation, I was blending it and I wasn't really sure whether I had any foundation on. That might sound a little bit extreme, but really that was basically what I did. So I was looking at my face and I wasn't really sure if the foundation was at all there. I used it with a brush and I used it with a sponge, and I'd say that probably I prefer blending it with brush. And the reason for that is because it's just quicker. This foundation looks absolutely fine with a beauty blender as well, but it just takes quite a while to actually apply it to the skin. Not because it doesn't look natural, but because you just don't know when to stop. The end result is pretty much the same for both, but with the brush it's definitely quicker. It took me literally maybe a minute or a couple of minutes maximum to have a finished look with the brush, whereas with the blender it has taken me a few minutes. This foundation seems to be staying on the face pretty much the whole day. However, the struggle that I have faced when establishing how long this foundation actually stays on the face was due to the fact that I couldn't see it to begin with, and I couldn't see it at the end of my day either. So I didn't really know whether I no longer had the foundation on my face because my face looked so natural, or whether it just stayed on for so long and it was exactly the same as it was in the morning. Of all the foundations that I have used, this one definitely looks the most natural. It doesn't gather in pores, it doesn't gather in fine lines, it doesn't exaggerate dryness, doesn't cling to dry patches, and it doesn't make oiliness worse either. Now, moving on to cons. First, and probably the biggest con of this foundation, is the coverage. So it has very little coverage, and I do have some skin problems, so to me having a foundation with very little coverage, it looks really natural and pretty in that sense, but then I have to use quite a lot of concealer to cover the problem areas, so that defies the purpose of natural makeup, because the concealer will not make it look very natural at all. Second, I don't know whether you can consider that a flaw, but it appears to me that I had to use more of this foundation than I normally would, and that might be due to the fact that the coverage is so light. So I would initially apply a very little foundation, like the normal amount of foundation that I would be using on day-to-day basis, but when I started to apply more, my skin definitely looked better. So with this foundation I would definitely need to apply more foundation. It doesn't make much of a difference because the foundation looks really natural regardless, but obviously if you look at the amount of product that you use, you are using more foundation when you are using this foundation to achieve the desired effect. Let's put it this way, I know that this foundation has had quite a number of negative reviews, but I think that was probably because a lot of people who used this foundation previously used the HD foundation, so not the ultra wear, just the HD Makeup Forever foundation, and that was a different foundation. And I never tried that foundation, so to me it's very hard to compare the two, but I think that comparing the two based on the reviews that I have read, that was the main reason for the reviewers' unhappiness with this particular product, because they just compared it to the other foundation and that was just an entirely different foundation and the results were entirely different. That being said, as I've mentioned, the coverage isn't great at all, so I had to use quite a lot of concealer. In fact, I would probably say that I had to cover about 30% of my face with a concealer and the rest with the foundation. So it is definitely not a product if you are looking for coverage or if you have problems with your skin like I do. It won't cover the spots, it won't cover the redness, it might even add the skin tone a little bit, but it won't cover blemishes and it will not cover hyperpigmentation either. That is something that I had to cover with two different concealers. But if you do have a near perfect skin, or if you are looking for a very natural finish, or if you are not very used to wearing foundation and you want to try something, this is definitely a very good choice. It is definitely not this kind of foundation that will change your appearance dramatically, so if you're new to the foundation world, this is a really good choice. Or if you enjoy wearing very natural looking makeup, then this is definitely a foundation for you. So I I guess the opinions will differ depending on expectations. My expectations, I didn't have any expectations. I bothered to test it out and show you the results and my thoughts as well. That being said, I can't possibly wear this foundation when I'm going out or when I'm even going to work because it's just not giving me the results that I need on those days. But if it's a weekend or if it's a day off or if I just can't be bothered to wear a lot of makeup, this is definitely a really good choice because it literally looks like skin. It looks like you have absolutely nothing on it and you can't expect a lot of coverage from this foundation. Okay guys, so I'm just gonna wrap up this video. I think I have shared all of my thoughts on this foundation with you. It's obviously entirely up to you what you want to do, whether you think this will be a suitable foundation for you or not. It's all just a matter of preference. So I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. That will mean a lot to me. And I do hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.